Are you ready to get provoked? You're listening to Can I Live, a show created to excite, ignite, and expose. Let's tune in with your host, R.W. Jones. I want to welcome everyone. Good evening. I feel like it's been a long time since we have talked, but it's only been a week. So you guys know we're on a mission to move 1 million moms off the welfare system, right? And in order to do that, fathers are the solution and they are not the problem. So incarcerating men for failure to pay child support, having men locked up unjustly and then having these huge arrearages when they come home, driver's license taken away, all of those just exacerbates the overall issues. We believe fathers are not deadbeats, but dead broke. Majority of the child support systems are filled with men, particularly Black and brown men, who are also low income. Now, I'm sure your Republicans, your conservatives, they're probably out there saying, well, don't have kids if you can't afford them. Well, okay, I get it. And so we have our wonderful hosts here. We have Mr. Glenn Warren from Fathers Forever, way out there in Raleigh. We're here at Can I Live? We're in DC. Then we have Chaplain Anthony James from Men of Vision Exposed. And these two men bring a beautiful balance to myself. I think we all have had some interactions with the child support system, some more than others. Some have been horrific experiences. And today we're talking to fathers because y'all remember last week we couldn't even find any fathers. Okay. Fathers were like, listen, I'm good. I don't want to talk about it. It's painful. I don't want to have that memory. I'm not ready to talk about it. Well, we found, I think, 2 brave souls out there who's willing to talk to us about it, and we want to find out what their stories is. So Glenn and Anthony, how y'all doing tonight? So did y'all talk to other guys this week to try to get more people? Or the answers were still the same? No?
Well, I got two.
Okay. Where Terrence at?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I mean, that was y'all situation.
We made contact. So let me get Adam. Adam. There you go. Oh, look at that. How you doing?
All right. Well, praise the Lord, everybody. How y'all doing?
We're doing well. How are you doing?
Doing great. I found the best backdrop I could find given the time.
No, it looks good. We always welcome backgrounds. It's like we did not get in. I be telling people, like, we did not get in Zoom yesterday. We've been in Zoom almost a year now. So people should have at least a background if they don't have nothing else. But welcome to the Can I Live podcast. Very, very happy to have you as a guest today. Thank you, Anthony, for inviting him. I know Terrence Perry, we have one more guest.
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm trying to get on, so I guess I made it. I made it on.
You made it on. Thank you. I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if that's him. And then thank you for putting that in the chat so I can know that was actually you. So yes. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you. I don't know how much Anthony shared, but Can I Live? I was a welfare mom, so I'm on a mission to move 1 million moms from the welfare system. And I realized that I could not do that without the help of the fathers. And so the work that we've done over the last 12 years, I think everybody in this panel, it comes down to one thing. And I guess I'll let Glenn say it best because he says it best. Glenn, what's the one thing you say? The systems were created to, your famous phrase.
I said, we have 2 issues, a systemic issue and an individual issue. And they can't fix one another. We have to fix both. Sometimes we focus on the system and we don't focus on the individual. So it takes a combination of fixing both of these to make it work.
And the system was designed to do exactly what it's doing, but it was not designed to fix
the system is designed to collect money from you as a non-custodian parent, not to fix the relationship between you and her. It can't fix it. It's not designed to fix it, and it won't fix it. And a lot of times we get mad with the system because we think the system is going to fix the problem, and it's not going to. You can frustrate yourself, and you can frustrate the system. And like as a friend of mine said, it's like teaching a pig to sing. It's impossible, and it's frustrating to the pig. So,
and I don't know if I don't think people have ever. I wish that was something that they just taught you in school. Like, I think our lives are so entwined with these systems that we don't even know how to unravel ourselves, one, and don't know what is system and what is us. You know,
right.
what part do we play?
Well, the part that I see is we play is once you they do the worksheet, and that could be debatable whether it's fair or not. That's debatable, and most of the time it is. But you could debate that. But if the system says you're supposed to pay $310 a month, and if you don't pay that $310 a month on a consistent basis, you're going to have arrears. You're going to get behind. And once you get the arrears and behind, and she keep doing that, they're going to eventually call you in and ask you why you're not paying. It's a show cause hearing. And if you don't have to come up with a legitimate excuse as to why you're not paying, you could be incarcerated. Now, you can call that a system issue, or you can call that a non-compliant issue. For whatever reason, you're not paying it. Maybe you're mad with the mom, and if it's too much, you can't pay it, then perhaps you go back to the system and file a modification based on your income. If you're not working, you can't just not pay. You need to go to the system and file for a modification based on your inability to pay because you don't have an income. And only a judge can change that. But a lot of times, guys, they don't do that. They just stop paying. Or they run from, sometimes city to city, to place, to job, to keep from paying. And eventually, they're gonna catch up with you. And when they do, they're gonna put you incarcerated.
I love our perspectives because one hand, I don't even know what my perspective is. I'll probably let y'all say, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, y'all not gonna get no mercy from Glenn. You're not gonna get it. You might get some mercy from Anthony because he was dragged through every court system. Almost feels like he was just dragged and raked over. So you'll get mercy from him. You ain't getting it from Glenn. I'm gonna promise you right now, man. You're not gonna get it. But one of the things I want to discuss with the two guests that we have today, and get your hands out my pocket, the Child Support Chronicles. We talk about the lives of 5 men who all have different circumstances. I'm sure possibly one of them might have fit what Glenn sees all the time, working as a court mandated fatherhood program. So to avoid incarceration, he's a diversions program, like a jail diversion program. So you don't go to jail, but you go to his program, which they need that in every single state in America. Number one. So policy number one, diversion programs in every state. We got to add that to our policy piece. And so we have the man of God. He got put into child support. He was married to a woman who wants to be first lady. He doesn't want to be, and then, so she's vindictive. She's controlling. She's using the child support system to get him back. You got Mr. Right, Never Right. He's the center of the play. In terms, he is the right guy. He's Mr. Goody Two Shoes. He loves, takes care of his kids. He's Mr. Homebody, but he just chooses the wrong the wrong women all the time. And he winds up in child support simply because she wants him to come back. He wants to leave because the relationship is toxic, but she's like, no, you leave. I'm gonna make you pay. Then we have Baller. He's a new NBA. He just got drafted, and he was actually set up. Had a roofie, and it was plotted against him to have these kids because they knew that he would be well off. So he was the child support or the pension pawn, I would say. Then we have the man of God. No, we said man of God. Reckless and Ratchet actually was locked up for like 7 years, came home for a charge he never committed, but he couldn't afford an attorney. And he wind up coming home with like $57,000 worth of debt that he had to pay. Young Guns was a little 17-year-old, went to Job Corps. He got a child, and because the child needed welfare, he wound up being taken to court. And so you got five different scenarios, but nonetheless, they all got locked up by Judge Wu, who's like this angry, vindictive judge. Black woman, yes, she is. And so we're covering like all these different dynamics. So I want to ask the guests, do any of one of you, and we could start with you, Adam, do you see yourself at any one of those characters? Briefly explain, or did you have an entirely different experience?
I could have been the goody two shoes. Could have been. I was definitely unsuspecting. Got married, okay, age 25, out of school, out of college. We bought a house, first house, and she got a car for graduation. So we had that car payment, got the new house. And when the house was presented, it was going to be about $450 a month. By the time we got to closing, it was $732 a month. And I wasn't going to go forward with it. I was like, no way. This is not what they told us, and really wanted to get out of that deal. But she said, no. By the time we do this, insurance, this, that, other thing, then that's what it is. I said, okay, if you think we can do it, let's do it. And we were putting our money together. So as long as we were together, putting our money together, it looked like a viable, good option. And it seemed to be going well as we got started. Because we were teammates, we were married. My case, once we had our wedding, we went on a honeymoon. We actually conceived the night of our honeymoon. So when we get back, we're pregnant, so everything changes. Wow. And when that happens, of course, what you were going to do as far as getting to know one another, your first year of marriage, first 2 years of marriage, and planning a family, you're in a family. So the baby, even the notion of the baby to be born was priority, and everything just changed. So add that with the debt that we accrued, upfitting the house with no blinds, no furniture, no washer, no dryer. Only thing I think I had was a refrigerator and a stove. Living room set, bedroom set, some stuff we piecemeal, some stuff, we bought on credit, because that's, she was good with it. I wasn't a credit type person. Her mom was remarried in her second marriage. I'm a product of a single parent household, and we did have a guy live with us, but my mom had never been married to that point. And so now here we are married. And when it doesn't go right, because all the stress from all the stuff I just named, not to mention, you have to know how to do relationship. You have to know how to communicate. If you were fatherless, then you're not ready to be a father. If you were fatherless, meaning you didn't have a father and a mother in your household, you're not equipped or prepared to be a father or a husband, for that matter. And yeah, it was the writing on the wall. And within 2 years, we were split. We had split the bills 50-50. Her 50%, when she decided she was leaving, she put that towards her apartment and didn't pay those bills for a couple of 3 months. So by the time she left, gave me 3 days notice, I helped her move, thinking of reconciliation, if I would be amicable. Turns out that wasn't going to happen. But also turns out a week later, the water's off. The electricity needs to be paid by this date. So, when you play like that, that makes people mad. So I turned right around and said, okay, you did that to me. I'm using this credit card to pay off my student loans. You see how that goes? So it's not always just black and white. And now with the strife, with the frustration, the anger, the unforgiveness, all this stuff raging, you're under a curse. I didn't realize it, but we were operating under a curse, the curse of the law, as the scripture says, a generational curse. Her mom had been married and divorced. Her mom was remarried, but I didn't really know them.
How long were you guys married?
We were married maybe 2.5 years total. Okay, but I think we were married about a year and a half, and shortly after we found out, shortly after we had the baby, we were split. We were different directions.
Let me ask you this: do you think if you would have had the baby, would that have strained the relationship such where you guys would have probably still been together, or did the baby bring about another strain that just?
No, I don't necessarily think it was the baby. I think women have it in their mind, some of them, deal breakers. If you do this, if you do that, then I'm out of here. Okay.
They do that.
And men, we're not taught oftentimes in single parent households affection, how to love, temperance, how to say certain things. And so we don't know how to use, those particular communication styles or tactics. You get frustrated with the things you don't see go right, and you come across as intimidating. And as soon as you come across intimidating, they've already been told, oh, if you do this, because maybe they've seen their father, maybe their mama's, been through some stuff, and if he ever do this, then you need to walk. See, that's
well, that's interesting. Wait, so you're saying to me, and what women will read between all lines and come up with a story on our own, and it will say something like, "What?" So I get that, and that sounds great. And if women don't know anything from this conversation, teach your men how to be sensitive. Teach them how to control their emotions. Teach them how to be emotionally intelligent. And so, because then, like you said, if you never learn that stuff, and now you're in the brink of all of this pressure, how best do you then convey the emotions she needs to feel safe and stable and assured, and all the things that they tell women to feel, or from their husbands? So was there moments where you said deal breakers? Was the pressure on, and maybe the tone of the relationship from you changed, and she felt like, I don't know?
Well, I mean, deal breakers could be anything. Okay. But we went from straight out of college, straight into the home ownership, from no debt to $72,000 on the house, another $20,000 on a car, not to mention the Kirby, the washer, the dryer, the sofas, the bedroom, the TV. So we had a lot of debt. So where we thought we had extra spending money, in just a little while, there was nothing extra anywhere. And she used to get like knots in her stomach just from stress. Because see, she was writing the checks, paying the bills. I was bringing the check home, giving it to her, because that's what we learned from the world, which does not work. And so by the time I realized that she's dealing with all this stress, I'm like, well, what's the big deal? I brought my check. All right. I don't do that in my current life. I'll never do that again. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Okay. Because as an individual, if I were single and taking care of my own place, I would be responsible for all that stuff. So when I come into a relationship, guess what? You will know that I know what I'm doing, and it's already working for me.
So when did the child support come in? Like, when did you realize? Because to me, based on the story you just said, if you got child support papers, I know you were like really on top of everything.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't anticipate child support. I didn't anticipate the fact that we would be in Splitsville in less than 2 years. That I just couldn't have foreseen it, because marriage is supposed to be until death do us part. It's an eternal covenant between us and God. Okay, that's the way it's sold. That's the way it's supposed to be done. But if you have deal breakers, all you need is the devil to show up and throw a monkey wrench in it and create a perception of, he might be doing this, or this is happening, or that's happened, or fear, or the old boyfriend, or who knows. Bottom line is,
let me ask you this, but you weren't a deadbeat dad. You were there. So why did you wind up in child support?
Okay. So to that part, once she moved out, now I'm still in this house. And I've got this new $732 a month house payment. If I moved from this house, I probably hadn't built my credit to that time, wasn't familiar with credit and all that. So I couldn't just up and go move. She had plotted and planned, and I'm sure had some assistance to strategize and move.
Plotted and planned.
So I'm supposed to sell a house and just run out into nowhere, or go back home to live with mama. That wasn't going to happen. I got too much pride for that. So, and then I realized if I don't have a place to live, and now we're talking about visitation and this kind of stuff, I'll never get to see him. Because where am I going to see him at? And lo and behold, I did, you know, her attorney she worked with, she had some direction, some counsel, some backing. So rather than getting an attorney and paying money that I didn't have to an attorney to fight over what? That's misdirecting resources. And I was already beginning to, I had been paying what I could afford. But mind you, I needed to have a roof over my head. Okay, so that when the visitation came, the child could have a place to come see dad. See, for some reason, people have a tendency to think that you're supposed to instantaneously be on the ball, Johnny on the spot, and come up with this money right after this breakup happens, right after this divorce or whatever happens. You just got to be on the ball or else you need to be penalized. And so a couple months it went by and, you know, I had reconciled that, you know what, I've got to deal with this, but I was broke. When you split up a two income household, now you're down to whatever's left. Well, everything that was created as a debt still existed. She walked out from under it and created a new situation. I was left here with it. And now I'm supposed to pay. Well, I can only give you but so much because you took the other part that was handling this other stuff. And shortly after that, her being a social worker, she goes and files a complaint or uses the system, which I believe she knew the system and used it. So I was served a clerk of court. I go down and we figure out how much it's supposed to be. And once it was figured out, I'm like, well, that don't add up because when I look at everything that's going out, it ain't in there.
Can you share what was they telling you to pay?
I think it was about $350 or something like that, $300, $350. But by the time all that other stuff got done in this short window of time, it didn't exist.
So what happened? Did you tell the judge, hey, I can't pay this? Or how can I afford it? What did the judge say?
Well, here's the other thing. When you get served child support papers, you become criminalized. I would have felt better had I stolen something, had I robbed somebody, had I wrecked a car and killed somebody. But because I didn't have no money, now I'm forced to come see a judge. I'm dictated to, you're going to do this or you're going to do that, or else this is going to, that right there, that's criminalization. Okay. And it ain't looked at like that. It would be better if there was something in the system that would give permission. Okay, the two of y'all, you were married, things were going good. For a particular reason, it has gone sour. We can mediate this over here. And if you don't come in this mediation over here and you don't work it out from over here, now you need to come before Mr. Glenn because Mr. Glenn gonna lock you up.
Yeah, Mr. Glenn. Now, I want to hear what Glenn and Anthony got to say, because in this situation, he would be what I would consider Mr. Right, but never right, no matter what he does. He says some powerful things, which we will have to address at some point. He says, plotted and planned. Women, we plot and we plan, and you will never outplot or outplan a woman. You just won't. He said that there was no mercy, that was important. He said there was no mercy, and that once you had this baby, or even you had to be on go. There was never a time for downtime when you fall or pivot or get it back together or losing sight of, you don't have that. It's get it and produce it, and you better not drop this ball ever. New to the system. That's another thing. Women know the system because we use it. And most of our grandmas and great grandmas and our mamas and them, they use it and they teach us how to use it. And if you're not taught how to use it, you quickly learn how to use it when you got to go down there and apply for one food stamp. So you become, it's an easy system, but I think because of the way we think, we can navigate. Men or women, they think differently. And I think the system poses one of the biggest obstacles for men, because it's like, I'd rather not deal with it at all. And then criminalize, where you said you would have felt better had you did a crime, because having not enough money just wasn't, it didn't justify feeling like a criminal simply because you didn't have the means to pay. Now I'm going to turn it over to real quick before we go to Terrence, because I want to say, Glenn, what would you say?
Well, I'm gonna try to be gracious here.
No. Don't get
Okay,
gracious.
so
Because let me wait. Hold on. I'm gonna say don't be gracious, because if I'm not mistaken, Adam is no longer in this situation, or are you?
right.
Absolutely not. Not
No,
even
no,
near.
So it's gone and done. So we talking to the old Adam. What would you have told the old Adam when he first got into this mess?
This is a typical example to me of a couple having a problem, and now going to blame the system of their problem. The system was not their problem.
What was the problem?
The problem was what they had an issue with finances, and that happens. I mean, that happens to all of us. I've been through divorce, stress. That I'm not blaming nobody for that. That happens. So when that happens, we all separated, and now the kid is living with the mom. You say that she plotted the system. I don't know that there's a plot to go down and ask for help to raise your kid. That's not to me a plot. You want to get help from, and maybe sometimes couples can work it out. They don't have to do that. Y'all could come up to an agreement of paying how much is a month. If that's not the case, then she went to the child support system, which is not a plot, is not a plan. That's what they're designed to do, is to collect money for you. Based on the worksheet that you gave them, this was amount you was legally paid based on the worksheet. $350. I don't know how much you was making, but based on the worksheet, they said you had to pay $350 a month.
You would have got locked up.
I mean, I've seen a lot of these cases where that's kind of a general one child working maybe a little bit above minimum wage, pay that money per month per child. Now, people don't like that because they said, I don't have enough money to pay my bills. Well, who's going to take care of your child? Is the society supposed to take care of that? Is she supposed to take care of that by herself? No, you have to pay your part. And this part, your part was $350 a month. Did it mean, do you have enough income? Perhaps you didn't, because you was in over debt. You made the decision to stay there. So, which means now you got to get some more money coming in. Perhaps go get another part-time job. I mean, this is a bill that you cannot afford not to pay. You cannot pay your light bill, you can get your lights cut off. You have to pay this bill. Now, you want to look at it as a bill if you want to. That's your child support obligation to your child. $350 a month. When you look at the budget of a household, $350 a month is a minimum amount you could pay, because she's got to pay the rest of it.
Hey, hold on, Glenn. Hold on, Adam. Because this was how long? 20-something years ago? How long was this ago, Adam?
We got married in 1990. By 1992, we were split.
Okay. So I guess I'm trying to think, in all fairness, there is here, I am married. We agree. I want to walk away from a house. You want the house. So we do the house with intentions to do this together. We are partners in this. And then you leave me high and dry.
High and dry, Glenn.
And that happens. People break up. They fall out of love. You can't stop that.
Glenn, you know what you need to do? You need to take your course and give it in premarital counseling.
You know what? That's what we're trying to do.
Okay? Because after the fact, when people's hearts are broken, with their emotions all over the place,
yes,
they don't know what to do next, then you want to hit them with a hammer and say, well, that's what the worksheet said.
Because again, who is responsible now to take care of your child?
Listen. Had I had another mind, I wanted to run and duck and hide and leave. And why do you think so many people are homeless? Because you are criminalizing somebody who made a bad choice, or they split up and now the couple is in trouble. Okay. And if anything, you need to figure out a way to save the couple if they're able to be saved, so we can raise the families in a dual parent household. Otherwise, the child would turn out crazy. The risks are immense. I ended up having to pray, and the Lord delivered me. Let me tell you my testimony. My testimony is this. When I realized I was up against it, I stuck with Jesus, and he began to give me wisdom. I learned to out earn my problem. Black folk used to say money ain't everything. Well, I'll be damned. If you're gonna put me in jail for $600 for 30 days, what's that gonna accomplish? Nothing. All right. So I started my own company, my own service company, and I learned to out earn my problem, and I did it. And once I got on top, I paid everything I owed every single month and some. And then by the last year, which was 12 years in total, about 13 years, I had made, I don't know how many trips every 2 weeks for 12 to 13 years in a row, because she moved 1 hour away right after we got everything situated with visitation. She moved an hour away, so I couldn't even get easy access to go pick him up from school and bring him back on Sunday. All right. That's a whole lot of mess to go through. And my mom died on top of that. And you saying, oh, just look at the worksheet. That is asinine, in my opinion. But what I did after that, I got on track. I paid it. I did the miles. I turned down other lucrative jobs so I wouldn't break my visitation, because if I broke my visitation, now you're going to take my child. And when you hear a woman say, well, that's my child, well, I'll be damned. I'm a pastor. It's our child. And I wanted to be there. I never wanted a divorce. I never accepted it. All right. But I had to move on from it. I tried my best to figure out how to get it back together. Nobody helped us. All right. I realized we had 300 people at our wedding. We had one extra person at the divorce proceeding. That was her mom. And I learned a whole lot from a whole lot of folk. All right. And as a man, there was no corner to go to. My mom had deceased. My relatives and people that got this mindset, well, if you're in this situation, you must have done something wrong. All right. If you're not caught up, you must be a deadbeat. All right. I was not going to allow myself to be labeled. I am the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, it's Christ who lived in me then and now. In the 12th year, the child was honors in high school. He had started running track and field. The gift emerged. He got a scholarship to go to Western Carolina University. By that time, my other wife had deceased, so now I was a widow. I was well past this. I was never late, but I always, every month, got this thing. And even after I just paid it, it said in arrears, in arrears. Well, one day, and this was early on, I wanted you to get this. I had caught up what was due that landed me in front of the judge. I caught it up because I did sell the house. I paid it, had the receipt for it. Yet that Friday, I get a sheriff drive up to my house. I said, oh, okay, what's this about? He said, well, you need to come and, whatever. I said, well, here's my receipt. He said, well, that's nice. Ride with me down to the clerk of courts, and they'll probably let you go. You know what they did? They arrested me and expected me to stay in jail for the weekend and wanted $1,000 more to get out.
You know
what I did? You know what I did? I prayed right there. My wife came to that window. I prayed right there with her. I went back in that song and I sang songs of Zion like Paul and Silas locked in jail. I said, I'm not staying here. I'm not supposed to be down here. All right. And just as you would have it, some guy walks in where my wife was on the other side of the window and says to her, well, she turns around and says, hey, it was a cousin from like 25 years ago who was 9 years old last time she saw him. And she told him the situation. He pulled $1,000 out of his pocket and gave it to us to get out. And the magistrate who had me kept in that place was a high school friend, a female working in the system, saw the receipt, paid in full, still put me in there. Why? Because I'm a black man.
So was she a white woman?
No, it was a black woman.
What the devil?
A black woman. But guess what? I got there at 5. I was out there by 6:30. I wasn't staying the weekend, and I got out of that mess. All right. But I realized that if I'm going to survive this thing, this is called what? Solution, not the problem. I'm going to be the solution. I'm going to out earn my problem. And eventually I got the courage up to look at my ex-wife and say, look, I'm not afraid anymore. All right. I'm running to you. I'm not running from you. That is my son. I didn't want a divorce, but I got one. But watch what happens next. Those journeys every 2 weeks up and down that highway on Friday night. All right. Getting back at 9 o'clock, got to be back at 6 o'clock on Sunday. All right. All those little journeys, we were listening to positive stuff and we were talking about stuff, and I equipped him and trained him up. Guess what happened?
Right.
When I met my wife I'm married to now, which was 10, 11 years ago, he was a senior in high school. We went his senior year to his athletic banquets. We went to his prom. We went to his graduation, all this stuff. And then when he went off to college with his scholarship, we went and connected with his mom and dad, whom I had been praying for and have been asking the Lord to bless and to forgive them, so that she wouldn't fall on harder times, that God would bring a man into his life who was a godly man who wouldn't be a pedophile. All right. I was target specific on what I was believing God for, and God made it all work together for our good. We took the boy to college. We all set him up together. He came out in 4 years with 2 majors and was a decorated track and field athlete. And him and his wife came out of school because they went to school together. My wife has sold him 3 houses in the last 4 years.
Okay.
And now he makes more money than you and me both put together.
Amen.
Because that's my testimony.
Yeah, and that is a powerful testimony, Adam. And thank you so much for sharing. I know this podcast is only an hour, so we definitely got to get to our other hosts. So that is a powerful testimony. And I'm very, very grateful that you shared that, because God is the common denominator. What you gonna say, Glenn?
I have one question. You said you felt like they criminalized you. How did they criminalize you?
That's a good question.
Glenn, when you get anything from the clerk of court saying appear before a judge, what do you think that's supposed to feel like?
You go before a judge.
It's a threat. The threat said, if you don't do this, we're going to arrest you.
Yeah, because you didn't go to judge.
I know why.
You went because,
but that doesn't make it right.
I know you went because they wanted to let you know this is the amount that you're supposed to pay to take care of your child. What is criminal about that?
What's criminal about it, there are bars involved.
But they didn't put you in jail then. They're saying you have to pay this. Now, if you don't pay this, you go.
What was my solution for being broke?
Well, but it wasn't the court system fault. That's what I mean.
I never mentioned the court system because I don't operate according to that system. I got out of the system. That's for people that want to focus. I'm not in that.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard you say you blame the system, but let me ask you this, Glenn. I guess
say that. People don't say they blame the system, but when you look at their talk, their language, how you saying it, that's what you're saying. This is the system fault that I'm in.
No, if I was blaming anyone, my blame was on her. How did you talk me into marrying you and you up and go shipwreck and leave, when the first little thing happened? So I didn't say something about the system, but once I got in, I used to go down there because I would have to appear quite a lot because I was having trouble catching up. And I would sit and watch sometimes. But then I realized I can't hear this. This mess is crazy.
Let me hold on. Let me pause first. Let me break in for a second. So I think I hear Glenn saying is, at any point in time, was there a point that said at the end of the day, I was still responsible for, either she talked me into it, I still made that decision. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Glenn, he has a strict response, like it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's just your responsibility. He's always going to come from that perspective. But I do think there's something different, and there's all kind of nuances here, because like he was saying, I'm not a deadbeat. I wasn't evading my responsibilities to be a father and provide, but I was in a position where my provision was limited to the degree that the court stated should be based on that damn worksheet. Okay. Now, also, the truth of the matter is he had a receipt showing that he had paid up all the arrears of the child support, but they still locked him up and wanted him to pay $1,000 to get out. If that's not, I don't know what that's called.
Yeah, I mean that may be. I'm not saying the system is perfect by any, and I'll be the first one to tell you there is a lot of issues with the system.
It is, Glenn. You
But
know
there's
these
also,
systems.
I know that. I'm in the system. I worked for 13 years. I know they are. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of problems with us that we blame the system for.
Yeah.
There's problems on both sides. But you can't expect, so now it's like you still the victim because your wife talked you into getting married and she walked away from you. That's a victim mentality. I am the victim. You are not the victim. You said I do, just like she said I do. Now,
Glenn,
Whoa.
I was 25 years old. I wasn't 54 years old.
It doesn't matter the age. You still,
Glenn,
it doesn't matter. It
I
doesn't
was
matter.
a fatherless child, Glenn.
It doesn't
I didn't
matter
have a
either.
mom and a dad. Glenn. You can't be
doesn't-
that. You
that
can't be
doesn't
that.
matter.
Get you locked up.
That doesn't matter either.
Heartless. You are heartless.
Get in here.
You are callous.
Baby, you
Where
can
is you're a man of God?
you're
Where is
not
your
gonna find
mercy?
He not gonna give it to you. You better ask.
I don't want it. I'm talking about for the other guys that got to come up. I'm telling you, whoever you are, stick with God. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. He'll give you a strategy. You can out earn it. All right. He will put relationships back together. The last 4 out of the last 5 years, my wife and my son and his wife and my ex-wife and her husband have all spent Christmas Day together.
So wait, Adam, but here's
the last 5 years, and we didn't talk for 18, however many years before I got married 11 years ago.
Okay, so listen, this is what I also want to make sure, Adam, is that you know that even this was a long time ago. So today we're not saying that you are this person.
Well, he's trying to make it sound like it is now, and he's condemning the young brothers who are stuck because emotionally they're lost. They didn't mean to get divorced. They got to figure out how to move ahead. They need some grace to figure out the finances, the budget. So somehow, rather than criminalizing the thing, get a family counseling system in place and help the young folk get a counsel, get a direction. Y'all may never come back together, but here's some strategy. You got 90 days, you got 6 months. All right. If you can't figure it out 6 months, you come back in here and we're gonna figure this thing out. But now, this is what you're gonna pay.
Because we got to go to Terrence as our second guest because we only have about 15-20 minutes. Glenn Warren he has advocated to the court systems to make sure that the men don't go to jail, and so that the fathers do have an opportunity, to see this. I think because he sees this stuff over and over, and he can't escape what he sees and knows from his experience. But he is probably one of the only programs in the nation that is a diversion program for failure to go to court, for failure to pay child support. I don't know of too many others that have gone that far. And so I know he's hard. He's that one. He is that one on the panel. Mercy you're gonna get from me and Anthony because we just feel that. But we know today, I think that's an awesome testimony, and I would love for you to come back and share that, because that right there is God. That's where men have to be in order to get to really solving that thing that festers in you and makes you angry and keep you in unforgiveness and bitterness and hatred and and just anger. That's the thing that we really have to work through. So thank you very much for sharing your testimony. I think it's awesome. I'm so glad you're on the other side. And guess what? The proof is in the pudding, because your son is doing amazing, and he had an amazing set of parents despite the choices that you guys made. There were choices nonetheless. But so let me ask you this, Terrence. Let me go to Terrence real quick because we have a little bit of time left. Sorry, Terrence, that that was a nice conversation. Out of the 5 men, Adam said he resonated more with the Mr. Right, Never Right. Is there a character that you resonate with based on how we explained it?
Well, I mean, I was the person that did what I needed to do, paying child support on a monthly basis. I just kept a practical attitude about it and just did it. So that resonate with.
So, I mean, okay, so let's go back to how did you go to court because you were a deadbeat?
No, I went to court because I wanted to pay the child support. My parents, when me and my ex was not married, we were living together. So when she had the baby, my parents said, take yourself downtown and pay child support. Don't just give her the money. I was just giving her the money, and they said, don't just give her the money, because if you all, if you break up or have an argument, she'll take you downtown to pay child support. So just go ahead on and pay it up front. So that's what I did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So did they garnish your check, or you just went down there to pay it to them?
No, I just went down and set it up. That way, I guess it is garnishment because they take it out every month. I was working with the state, so the state paid every month. They took it out before, they put it in my account. They took that out.
Do you regret that decision that your mom made, like told you to do? Do you think that, looking back, do you regret not doing that or doing that?
No, that was the best. That's the best thing to do. Go ahead on and set up the child support and pay it, because you don't know how things will go with, you and the ex, or you and the person that you're involved with. But oftentimes you will see that things go south. And then, just like the gentleman said, then you got to pay catch up. You got to prove that you've been paying if you ain't keeping receipts. So just set it up downtown. That way, you got to take care of your child anyway, whether you pay the woman directly or you pay it, in child support. And I actually did it both ways. For 10 years, I just paid child support, and had it taken out of my check. 10 years later, I started my own business, a group-owned business. So, and me and my ex had split. So I called her and said, let me pay you directly X amount of dollars a month, take me off child support. I offered her a good deal, so she wasn't going to turn it down. And we kept that going, until the boys turned 18.
So wait a minute, pause. So you telling me you go down there and you put the child support on yourself, and then you got to ask her to take it off? You got to ask her. You got to
ask her to take it off, because at that point you're paying. She's on the system. So, well, let me back up. Her and I were living together. She was on the system. I was living with her in her apartment. I'm working with the state, so I was taking care of the household anyway. Her and I lived together for 10 years. So I worked and paid child support, which came right back in the house. And I was helping take care of the bills, and then when we split, after about 10 years, I started my own company. So at that point, and she didn't know how much I was making, so I just made a deal with her that I would pay her directly, not what I was paying in child support. I pay her about 3 times that much. But if she'd have took me down to pay child support, I'd have probably had to pay 4 times as much. So we just worked it out, and she was satisfied with what she was getting at that point. She wasn't going to complain. And it just worked out.
This is a situation where both parents decided to do among themselves. That's what That's the situation where Turner says, you know what? If I go down and do the worksheet and tell her how much money I'm making, that was part on his part. They're going to charge me, 4 times as much. He offered her 3 times. She said yes. That is a situation where both parents now came together and made an agreement, which should be done a lot of times, but a lot of times that's not possible. The other thing is when he went down to put himself on child support, which is a good thing too, because if you're going to pay child support, you need to have a record of how much you're paying each month, just in case there's a situation where you separate and you've been together 5 years, and she can say, you ain't gave me nothing.
And that will always happen.
So what he did was absolutely the right thing to do, as well as what the other gentleman did. When he got himself together, he decided that I'm going to go beyond the system. The system's not going to control me. I'm going to take care of my own life. I'm going to raise above this. You did this right thing, and you took care of your kids. A lot of people don't do that. They run and hide. They're trying to duck the system. That's when they get caught in the system. You guys are a typical example of the system got involved in you. You rose above the system and became a man and did what you need to do, in spite of everything that you went through. That's commendable. That's what needs to happen. That don't often happen.
No.
Trust me when I tell you, it doesn't.
Well, both scenarios don't normally happen in the sense that I've not heard one man ever say that his mama told him to go down and put your stuff on, because if she's separated now, kudos to your mom. Shout out to your, what's her name?
Phyllis.
Phyllis, shout out to Phyllis. I mean, she must have had some real live knowledge and wisdom, because that's something that you might want.
Well, she was a social worker.
Well, I you know what? But I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time. Man, my son did that. This is a good thing to do, to go down and put your child support, because eventually she will.
Yeah.
At least you'll have a record.
Y'all hear that?
The other thing is you don't necessarily have to do that, but if you pay her, that's a good thing to do. But if you pay her every week, every month, you make sure you have a receipt and you have a council check that if she ever decided to take you to court, you could go for the judge and say, I've been paying this amount for the last 5 years. Here is every receipt.
Yeah. But Glenn, you just said something. You said eventually she will. So what are you saying? That eventually?
No, she may not. But if there's a situation where a lot of times when a guy go out and get a girlfriend, all hell breaks loose, then she went out to the child support court and she's going to do that. Because she
hold on. I'm gonna get you, Glenn, because you see how you saying that, ladies. It's like, okay, I'm double team. I got the double team going on, because Glenn said as soon as she get another girlfriend, we're gonna want to go be scornful and vindictive or whatever, and go and file child support. Okay, maybe, probably.
I see that a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything is fine. She agreed to it. Until you come home with that girlfriend,
I wouldn't even.
All hell break loose then. And you at that point in time.
I know there are some women, and there are women out there for sure. And like we said, this is what we're hoping that this podcast would do, is bring more balance to the process, so that the good ones are not destroyed through, because it's because there's also some moms out there that won't take the father to court. And there's some moms out there that says, all I really want is a father for my sons or my daughters. I'll give all the money back. Just be there. So you have those. And I just, but you said.
What I like to see, these two gentlemen came on that day talking about what they did. I would like to see gentlemen come on who say, I'm not a victim of the child support system. This is what I did. This is what I didn't do. Like last week, nobody showed up.
The program.
They're not going to come. They're not going to come because they didn't do the right thing. They're not going to show me.
Why can't they say they didn't do the right thing?
Because we just don't do that. That's right.
So those same reasons why, and you should know best because you are working with that mindset on a daily basis. That same mindset is what Adam was saying. Listen, dude, I was 25.
These two men
have none of these things. Right. I had none of these skills. Go ahead, Adam, real quick before we go out.
I guess we're looking for solutions and not just just bringing things up from the past. In all the passion that I shared that with, it's never really been shared. Maybe one or two other people have actually known my story. So when I talked to Brother Anthony last week, he sent me the link to your show, and I was listening to the other lady and just hearing the different perspectives. There are a million different perspectives. But if you're trying to solve a problem and not make it worse, you're dealing with human beings, all right? And when you're dealing with young people, I thought I was young at the time. In hindsight, I should have never got married that early. All right, tried to do the right thing, and the child wasn't born out of wedlock like I was. Okay, but the first thing goes wrong. If you're not, I would love to come to an older, wiser gentleman like a Glenn or an Anthony and say, "Hey, I'm going through this." But I get the sense that Glenn would say, "Well, get tough because you need to do this, you need to do that," and I would say, "You know what? Thanks, but no thanks." And I would go somewhere else and say, hey, and get somebody who can empathize with me or sympathize with me. So at least I can get my mind around what's happening. Because when you got the mortgage and you got this and you got
most fathers don't even have a mortgage.
The abandonment issues, all right, you've been left. There's a whole lot going on. And so you act like, well, all that matters is the worksheet. All that matters is the money. All that matters is, because one of the concerns is for most of us guys, you're wondering, okay, if I give her this money, and if you know her, is she going to put it on her hair? or is she going to put it on the child? Is she going to put it on her nails?
Doesn't matter. That's a big thing. We probably have to talk about that next week. But
we have a class for that. We have a whole class for that. Where your child support money is going.
Yeah. I think, Glenn, we need to just one day just.
I know what my child support money was going when I got when I got child support with my ex-wife. I know exactly what wasn't going. It wasn't going to get my hair done. I didn't have any. But I know what was going. It wasn't get my nails done. It was going to pay the light bill, the phone bill, the rent. That's where it was going.
Amen. But come on now, Glenn, that's you, because you were that kind of dude. You was a dad. First of all, single dads is a whole nother different caliber. The fact that that's a whole nother different caliber. And I promise you, some of these child support, I know I used to get my hand done with the child support for sure.
Okay, so
but I was also paying all of the bills. So
exactly my point. You get $325 a month. How many bills did I pay?
I mean, I paid the bills.
I know, but $325. How many bills do that pay in your household? Maybe the lights and maybe the gas.
2 or 3, maybe.
Exactly. Who pays the rest?
I had to pay the rest.
Exactly. My point.
Anthony, take us home with some words of wisdom. You heard from 2 different perspectives, 2 awesome testimonies. I picked up some nuggets from like just listening to both of their stories. What would you say?
Well, first and foremost,
make sure we do moving forward.
Yeah, first and foremost, I commend both. Appreciate you coming on, man, answering the call, because you both had some good, feedback, and again, everybody's situation is different. You know what I mean? You could say all jail, you could say whatever, you could say, you don't have the money, but at the end of the day, it's going to take 2 parents as parent partners to come together to learn how to become parent partners and for the betterment of the child, because once it's about the child, then everything is going to be fixed. You know what I mean? But when you go separate and try to do things separately, I don't care if you separate or you're fighting in court. The court system is the system, and they're going to lay it down on you. I don't have time to tell my story, but sitting up here listening to y'all tonight, it was good feedback. But most of all,
let me ask you this, Anthony, because your story is quite different from theirs. While Terrence had a great woman who sound logical, reasonable, rational, he didn't sound like he had a lot of drama going on. Whereas Adam didn't sound like a lot of drama, but like she made her mind up, and her decisions were not. It was her decisions. He really didn't have a lot to do with his decisions. And in your case, 2 of the moms were like evil. Now that's my.
Well, I had many cases. Well, one of the cases, just a little bit of it, I was doing what Terrence was doing. I didn't go down to the court, but me and the woman made a deal to pay her out of my pocket until we broke up, until I got another woman. Once that happened, all that paying out of pocket, even though she probably would have got more money from me than the courts, but she still went down to the courthouse. Yeah. So at the end of the day, there's so many different scenarios in this thing. So
let me ask you guys this. How do we solve that? Do you never get another woman? Do you just lie? Do you hide her? Is she in a closet chick? What do you do?
Stay married.
You said stay married?
Right. That's the aftermath. That's the aftermath.
Is Terrence married?
Yes. No.
He's like, no. But Adam,
but his situation just worked out, though. His situation, like I said, everybody's situation is different. His situation worked out without being married because you had 2 civil people.
No, I wouldn't. Well,
the money made it civil.
It was far from that, but I had to make it work on my end by being practical. It was some craziness going on. That's why we never got married. But it wasn't about being married. It was about taking care of the child and moving on. But I still had to make sure she got her money every month. That was going to keep her off my back. So,
And you knew
you know,
that much. You knew
yeah,
that
you
much.
got to make her happy. You had to make her happy. So, and all that means is you had to make sure she got her money. I gave her more than what she wished for, so she couldn't be nothing but happy.
So I think the moral of the story is for men that's out there watching, if you're young and you're trying to figure it out, like Adam was 25 with a wife and a house and a baby. That's a lot for a 25-year-old coming out of college. And Terrence, even as a young guy, doing this, Terrence had a stable state job. Not a lot of men have that. And even when it came to Adam, he didn't have, that state job with that income stabilization, but he grew the income by opening his own business. And so if you haven't learned anything, level up. The game is level up. He said, I outgrew or out earned my problem. And that was very critical. Level up, get your A game on, get whatever education, whatever kind of certifications you need. Don't, like Glenn said, don't dodge and weave the situation. Handle it, run on it. Just like Adam said, I stopped running and I came right to her. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of the system. I will not be intimidated by you or the system. Yes, I don't have the money, but I will not let that define me. Not having enough money will not define who I am. And I am mighty. I am great. And I am destined for something great. And, be able to, communicate with that confidence. Because if a woman can, because just as broken as men can be, women can be just as broken. When she sees you in all who you are, in your confidence, in your knower, in your strength, she will handle you differently. You dodge and weave and you show squirmy, you be squirmy and kind of like, integrity is whacked. You saying you're gonna do one thing, but you do something else. She's not gonna respect you, and then she gonna run game and run you just for the, excuse my language, I don't want to say shits and giggles, but it's kind of like some women get off on this stuff. It's not cool. I'm just telling men there are ways to earn money out there, and there are ways that you can address this financial situation. Just like Terrence said, he knew that he had to get her off her back, give her money. Worry about the other stuff later. And I don't know if that's really the solution, because some men will be like, yo, come on now. You got all of these justifications as to why it shouldn't even be this way. So you have a couple of experiences right before you. Choose one. I don't think you could go wrong. Either one of these gentlemen here on the show, they all have different experiences, but I know there's one thing that's constant. And I'm sure I can say is God. God, faith, and acknowledging this higher source, this creator, whoever you want to call him. God is for you, and his plans for you are good. It's just this messy stuff that's getting in the way. So we're so happy that you have joined us. We hope that you will join us next week. I want these two fathers to spread the word, get out there, start talking to other fathers, because this is the thing that's tearing our families apart. These younger generations who don't have what you guys have on CAP, these are the kind of opportunities that we should be sharing. Fathers Forever, the one program that I know. If you guys know of other programs in other states, please let us know. Email podcast@canilive.org. I'm gonna Monette, she can tell us all of the things to do, like our podcast page, subscribe to our YouTube page, all that good stuff. Go ahead.
Hello, gentlemen.
Monette, Adam has one thing to say.
Yeah, and I have been supportive of Fathers Forever for several years. My wife used to work for Ken Perry over in Raleigh, Methodist Homes for Children. And so I've been to a lot of the events, and I've actually met Mr. Glenn different places. And
Yeah, I remember you.
He does great work.
I was going through, y'all didn't even know each other today. I was like,
but so it's a great program, and I appreciate it, and it is inspirational to men. But there do need to be more tools that help people really transition. It can't just be a black and a white or an A and a B. There's a whole lot between there that never gets touched. If it's just about money, then like my man Terrence down at the bottom, man, if I just had the money, I might not ever seen the child. I just ran off and just paid the money. So really what the child needed was me.
Right.
And my child now tells me, out of all his friends from high school and college that are connected to him, like really close, like he's like the leader of the group, they all wish that their dads had been involved like I was. But I only saw him twice a month.
Yeah.
I only saw him twice, but that time was precious and viable and valuable. And I made the most of it while I had it. All right. And so you can see your dad every day and you still ain't happy. It still don't turn out right. But thank you for having me as a guest. I really appreciate the opportunity.
We're gonna come. I want you to come back because I would love for you to be a part of our policy committee. We have a policy agenda that we want to put before Congress and some of the congressional representatives, and we would love for you to just join us in shaping the policies that, like making the divergent program. A lot of the things you even said, we can create some policy around. Okay. Somebody was going to say something, Glenn?
Yeah, I was saying the dialogue that me and the gentleman, I'm sorry, Mr. Adam. And our group, we have these dialogues a lot. We disagree and we go at each other. But at the end of the day, we all know that sometimes iron sharpens iron, and what really brings us out is when we're challenged in the way we're thinking and how we think. The bottom line is he was not a runaway dad. He took care of his kids. So I challenge these guys the same way I challenge him. They push back just like that, and we go back and forward. But at the end of the day, the guy walked up to me at graduation and said, "You know what? This is one of the best events that ever happened to me. The best classes because it got me to thinking beyond what I was thinking." Mm-hmm. And now they step up to the plate and they take care of their kids. Having a dialogue like this, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because we are really, we're not competing against one another. We both got strong points of view, but we are both helping each other rise to the occasion. And the bottom line is taking care of your kids. That's what it boils down to.
So we're going to give our applause to our guests. Thank you guys for joining. Monette, what you got? Thank you, Keith. We got our listeners out there. Keith Henry, Ron Hunt, all you guys. Thank you guys for joining us and just being a part of our panel. And
what's the Facebook name?
Monette.
No,
Monette. That's not the Facebook name.
Oh.
The Facebook page for the show is Can I Live Podcast. In our comments on the Facebook Live on I'm gonna put it actually in the comments on the Can I Live Podcast page, but in Raquel's RW Billionaire on the feed on her
I'm gonna put it in
page is on. I put the link for our YouTube pages there. Please like and share.
Where you put that?
It's in the comments. On actual on the stream right now. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Like the videos. All of our past podcasts are up there on our YouTube page. Like us on Facebook. We are Can I Live Podcast on Facebook. We're Can I Live Podcast on Instagram. You can like us, follow us on Instagram. We're also on Twitter, Can I Live Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter. We have our show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. It was lovely and refreshing to hear what your experiences were. I thank God you guys are on the other side of it. It's good for other men to hear that there is a other side, that they can come out on the other side. And if they're struggling and having difficulties right now, it doesn't necessarily have to be forever. And maybe with you, you guys as examples, you gentlemen as examples, maybe you've sparked something in them, given them a new idea, a way to approach their situation. Ultimately, we want to help active fathers. We want to help foster fathers and mothers fixing, healing, repairing their parenting relationships, so that we can bring our families back together. In a couple of weeks, we're gonna have a relationship expert on talking about relationships and parenting and all that. So that'll be exciting. As well. We thank you so much, and we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule.
Coming next week?
Hmm?
Is she coming next week?
I think it's March 9th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's March 9th.
Okay. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
See you guys next week.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Anthony.
Anthony.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you,
Mrs. Jones. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mrs. Jones, you are very gracious and merciful.
What you said?
Said you are very gracious and merciful.
Well, thank you. Some might disagree, but thank you very much. We will be in contact for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. You guys have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.